review for Lupe, the album's not poopy. Bad review for Lupe, the album's not poopy. Bad review for Lupe, the album's not poopy. Hi everyone, sorry for the wait, Tano here, the internet's busiest music nerd. And it's time for a review of the new Title Fight album, Hyperview. Title Fight is a Philadelphia band I caught on to in the middle of 2012 thanks to their pretty good sophomore record, Floral Green. This album was released just a year after its predecessor, and at this point Title Fight was building a growing reputation as a punk rock band with some post-hardcore and emo leanings, pulling a lot of influence from bands like Husker Du as well as Jawbreaker, and there were some moments on this record where I picked up some SHOEGAZE. And they translated these influences pretty well, you know, it's not like they did them an injustice on this album, but maybe there were points where they translated them a little too well, meaning the band had the blueprint down for this kind of music, and there was some decent production on this album and some good performances too. Sometimes the writing was standout in the case of tracks like Head in the Ceiling Fan as well as Secret Society, really catchy rock tracks. But also the band kind of drowned in their influences a little bit. They didn't really have that distinctive a sound or approach when it came to this style of music. Leaving this album, I was kind of hopeful given the level of talent the band had displayed. And the band seemed to stick with this sound going into 2013 with a split they did with Touche Amore as well as a little EP. But 2 years later now, in 2015, the band delivers a new full-length LP right here on Anti Records with a pretty big sonic change of pace. Within the matter of a few years, I think Title Fight has really turned their sound on its head and have gone from an energetic, emotional, occasionally over-the-top post-hardcore band to a mid-paced, emotionally disconnected, blasé, reverb-heavy, twangy indie rock group with mumbled vocals. Basically the kind of inoffensive rock music that gets the shoegaze tag because just a little too much echo is thrown into the mix. And funny enough, I can't help but be reminded of another semi-post-hardcore emo band who made the same transition last year from their previous record to their latest record, Pianos Become the Teeth, and the result there was utterly bland and disappointing, and I think we're seeing a repeat of those results here. Though I will say Title Fight does maintain at least a little bit of edge. Occasionally on this record, the band does deliver a slightly faster tempo with some harder hitting, sharp, kind of flanged and watery guitar chords that are blaring and bright, but the band consistently chooses to deliver the most forgettable and done-to-death chord progressions even at peak volume. It's like they just want to make sure this album leaves no impression whatsoever. Case in point, the song Mrak, which ends disappointingly abruptly. Not that the song really did anything up to the ending that really demanded any sort of level of attention. I doubt most people will notice how this song ends. There are a few other kind of upbeat moments in the track listing here, but much of this very brief album kind of sounds like the background music to someone's really mopey day in their bedroom. And something like Elliott Smith might just be a little too depressing. The slower and more ethereal tracks on this record provide little to no highlights on this album. Dime a dozen trendy guitar tones, vocals mixed so low they might as well be background vocals, guitar leads that only add to the lazy, unambitious feel of the entire album, and the writing approach that the band takes on this record. Not that the writing wowed me track for track for track on the band's last LP, but Hyperview features the kind of middle-of-the-road simplicity that isn't stripped back enough to be minimal, but isn't bold enough to be exciting in any way whatsoever. It's enough to get me grabbing for like a Real Estate or even a Dive record. Though the song Rose of Sharon does stand out, and the reason for that is the vocals seem kind of aggressive, as do the drum fills on this track. It's kind of like listening to the band back in their gutsier days, but on this album, the track ends up suffering due to the production style. Many of the tracks here, including this one, just sound like a codeine-drenched haze that leaves the band feeling too distant to connect with them in any significant way. This track just feels like I'm listening to a song from Floral Shop. No. Floral Green, but I'm listening to the band play at the far end of a cavern with a wall between me and them. And not a cavern in like a creepy or haunting or stirring way. For me, this album is just another faceless reverb addict in a growing crowd of faceless reverb addicts. I'm feeling a strong 3 to a light 4 on this thing. Transition. If you've given this album a listen, what did you think of it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Why? What do you think I should review next? And that's it. Anthony Fantano, Title Fight Forever.